Our lease is up in 3 weeks, my husband began cautiously. I frowned, trying to figure out where he was going with this. And what are you suggesting? I asked, attempting to stay calm. We've been thinking, maybe it's time to look for a bigger place, he continued, avoiding my gaze. My sister's grown up now. She needs her own room. Are you serious? I protested, stunned by Bridger's words. You want me to pay for your entire family? Turning to my mother-in-law, I asked indignantly, Jenny, are you even planning to contribute anything? But she, unfazed, asserted, my son would never charge us rent. It's your responsibility as the breadwinner to take care of us. Feeling like their slave and cash cow, I realized at that moment there was no turning back. I'm Skylar. My husband Bridger and I initially believed we had a robust connection. We crossed paths in a bar during one of my evenings out. Bridger, a charismatic individual, effortlessly charmed me. At the time, I was single and on the lookout for a partner. My parents resided in a different country, and I was pursuing studies at a prestigious university. He claimed to work in his father's business when we began dating. However, approximately 11 months later, Bridger admitted that he was, in reality, employed in a minimum wage position at Wendy's. This revelation left me astonished, questioning why he had lied. Why did you lie to me, Bridger? I asked, baffled. With visible pain, he explained, my family is struggling financially. My father abandoned us, and my mother is doing her best with 3 other children to care for. College and good job opportunities were out of reach for me. Still, after everything I said to comfort him, he added, I thought you wouldn't be with someone you considered a loser. I expressed my pride in his dedication to his family and said, there's no shame in your circumstances, Bridger. Despite his apology, I soon discovered that Bridger was not only manipulative, but also a compulsive liar. While he proved to be an affectionate boyfriend, his lack of motivation in life became apparent. Despite my diligence in excelling academically, Bridger made no effort to secure a better job. I often found myself footing the bill for our dates, initially manageable since I had a side job. However, over time, I realized I was consistently covering all his expenses. One day I inquired, don't you think it's time to explore better job opportunities? With your experience, you won't have to search for long. I'm content with my current job, Skylar, he replied. Why do I need a better one? Are you struggling with my income? No, Bridger, it's not about that. I just want the best for you. I've been supportive, but we need solid plans for our future, I clarified. Are you embarrassed to have me as your boyfriend? He concluded. Surprised, I replied, I didn't know you saw it that way. I've told you before, I don't have much, but I earn enough for our dates. Confusion crossed his face. What more do you want? He asked. It's not fair that I'm covering most of our expenses, I said, frustration creeping into my voice. I understand your family situation, but that should drive you to find a better job. After a moment of hesitation, he reluctantly agreed. Fine. If that's what you want, I'll try to find a better job. Although he promised to improve his situation, my frustration grew as he never followed through. Every time I asked about his job search, he came up with excuses. Despite this, I looked past it, realizing I wasn't with him for money. I sympathized with his family problems and continued our relationship. As time passed, I graduated and secured a high-paying job immediately after completing my studies. While I was elated, Bridger, though happy for me, occasionally made snide comments. I also noticed he increasingly left our expenses to me. We couldn't move in together because he lived with his mom and couldn't afford rent independently. Feeling sympathy, I suggested, Bridger, if you truly want to move in with me, I can cover your rent for a few months. I need to get my own place now that I've graduated, and during this time, you can focus on finding a better job. He asked, will you do that for me? Assuring him, I replied, I am positive. I'll cover your rent for a few months. Use this time to find a better job. I will undoubtedly secure a good job, he promised. I'll begin applying right away. I added, Bridger, we've moved into a new place, and I'd be happy to assist you, but you need to be more committed to your job search. You can't afford to slack off like the last time. Skylar, it won't happen again, I promise, he reassured me. With his reassurance, we relocated to a new place. Though small, we managed to make it work. The rent was quite high, and I was ready to cover most of it, even after Bridger found a better job. However, that didn't happen. A week after moving in, Bridger informed me, "I hate my job, Skylar. I've handed in my notice. I don't want to go back to that cheap place. You've been so supportive, and I'm already looking for a new job so I won't have to work there anymore." Shocked, I asked, "Bridger, why did you make this decision without consulting me?" "We just moved in together. You need to have a job offer lined up before you quit." "Relax," he said dismissively. "I'll find a job soon. Mom already has her hands full with my siblings, so I can't rely on her. But you can help me out for the next 3 months. You have a stable job and enough money." Feeling uneasy, I responded, "It's unfair for you to assume this. Bridger, you should have discussed it with me." "So you don't want to support me?" he accused. "I didn't know you could be so selfish. Here I was, looking for a better job for us, and now you refuse to support me anymore. I feel betrayed." His words stung, and I immediately felt at fault. I did offer to cover his share while he looked for a better job, but I didn't anticipate him quitting out of the blue. Bridger was furious, and didn't talk to me for a week. Despite the tension, my love for him remained strong. I extended my apologies to him and reassured him of my commitment to provide financial support for as long as he required it. In the meantime, he introduced me to his family, his mother Jenny and his siblings, Raylan and Kate. Jenny, while outwardly sweet, gave off an impression of trying too hard. His siblings, on the other hand, seemed to ignore me, engrossed in their activities, not even exchanging greetings during dinner. During our conversation, Jenny made some peculiar comments about our financial situation, expressing gratitude for my support due to their apparent financial struggles. She assumed, "Your parents must have set aside a college fund for you," contrasting their situation with mine. I clarified that I was only temporarily covering Bridger's rent, and he was actively seeking better job opportunities. Jenny, however, persisted in urging me to take care of him if he couldn't secure a good job. When I questioned Bridger about this interaction, he nonchalantly shrugged it off, claiming I was overthinking. I felt uneasy about the whole conversation, and was perturbed by Bridger casually informing his mother that I would be taking care of him. As time passed, Bridger struggled to find a decent job, and his job search was not yielding any positive outcomes. Despite my efforts to help by sending him various job ads, he claimed to have reached out but faced rejection. Eventually, I discovered an opening in my company that offered a better-paying warehouse job. I informed Bridger about it, and he promised to apply. However, I later learned from our hiring manager that they never received an application from him. I found myself in a state of utter confusion, convinced that he had misplaced the application. "Skylar, I never even sent my application," Bridger admitted. "It was a great opportunity, Bridger. I could have even vouched for you with the hiring manager," I replied. He shook his head. "Honestly, I don't want to work there. Skylar, you hold such a high position. People would mock me thinking you're superior," he explained. "Don't be ridiculous, Bridger," I retorted. "You needed that job. It paid far better than your previous one, and you don't have anything else lined up." "Actually, I'm not sure I want to work right now. It's exhausting and bad for my mental health. Besides, I think I'm doing a decent job managing the household," he said, brushing off the job I suggested. "It's better this way, Bridger. I'm handling things for now, but we need another source of income to save for the future. We can't keep going like this forever," I concluded. "I thought you loved me. Don't you care about my mental health? You should want me to be happy. Taking a low-level job makes me miserable," he insisted. After this, there was nothing more to say. It was true, I could support both of us, and he was handling most of the household chores. Having someone at home was nice, but my savings were depleting, and the future looked bleak. Nevertheless, I agreed to support him a little longer because his well-being mattered more to me than material wealth. Any lingering doubts disappeared when he proposed. The proposal was incredibly romantic, and exactly what I wanted. I knew I loved him and wanted to be with him forever, so I happily said yes. I even footed the bill for our small wedding at a friend's property. We couldn't invite many people, but we were content. Unfortunately, things soured after the wedding. He remained unemployed and showed no inclination to find a job. I tolerated it until he stopped contributing to household chores altogether, spending his time playing video games. After my work hours, I'd toil through the night, cleaning up after him. His siblings occasionally helped with the pantry, but expenses were hard to manage. I confronted him one evening. "You're not helping, Bridger. You've stopped contributing to chores. I'm exhausted when I get home from work, and you need to do more," I said, exasperated. "I'm already doing enough, Skylar," he snapped. "You shouldn't complain so much. Working at home is tiring, and you can't expect me to do everything for you." "But you're not even helping out. Can't you ask Raylan for assistance?" I retorted. Kate and Raylan's weekly visits resulted in untidiness and constant pantry raids, adding to my expenses. Rather than incessantly complaining, Bridger should have considered taking up an extra job, given his ability to work. It wouldn't hurt to share some financial responsibility with his family, who arguably needed the money more than he did. "Bridger, your siblings are adults now. They should fend for themselves in terms of food and entertainment. While I'm willing to support you, there's a limit, and this situation is overwhelming," I added angrily. Bridger continued arguing, accusing me of selfishness. "My family is a package deal," he insisted. Despite my efforts, he remained adamant, branding me as privileged and entitled, oblivious to the hard work I put into my job. In desperation, I reached out to Jenny, hoping she could bring some clarity to Bridger. "Jenny," I pleaded, "could you talk to Bridger? He needs to contribute more." My mother-in-law shook her head. "My son doesn't have a fancy degree. It's your duty to accommodate his needs, even if it means compromising your well-being," she concluded. "That's not fair. Everyone should contribute to the household, regardless of gender or qualifications," I shot back. "Men don't do household chores. That's your responsibility as his wife," she declared. Frustrated by Jenny's lack of support, I felt trapped in a toxic relationship with no one on my side. Despite Bridger's short-lived promises to improve and assist me, doubts lingered. Eventually, my fears proved valid, as the situation deteriorated further after 2 months. One evening, I returned home late from work and noticed Jenny's car in the driveway. Puzzled, I entered the house to find Raylan and Kate there, casting strange glances. They urged me to sit down, and Bridger spoke cautiously. "We need to talk about something. Our lease is up in 3 weeks," he said carefully. I frowned, still unsure where this was going. "And what are you suggesting?" I asked, trying to stay calm. "We've been thinking, maybe it's time to look for a bigger place," he said, avoiding my gaze. "Kate's grown up now. She needs her own room." The idea was for all of us to move into a larger space, and I was tasked with finding a new property. Stunned, I protested. "Are you serious? Do you want me to pay for your entire family? Jenny, are you even planning to contribute anything?" My mother-in-law, unfazed, asserted, "My son would never charge us rent. It's your responsibility as the breadwinner to care for us." Adding to the absurdity, Raylan and Kate outlined their demands. "We'll need separate rooms," Kate declared, "and we're going to have guests over frequently." Bridger chimed in, "We'll also need a bigger fridge for all the extra munchies. And maybe you can get another job to afford a better lifestyle." In utter disbelief, I reluctantly agreed to look into it. However, as they continued with their unreasonable demands, my frustration grew. Bridger not only blindsided me with this proposal, but also refused to seek employment, placing the burden of supporting his mother and adult children solely on me. Feeling like their slave and cash cow, I decided I was done with this family, and truthfully, I was done with Bridger. Coming up with a plan, I assured them, "I'll figure something out." Then I promptly ushered them out of the house. In a last-ditch effort, I spoke to Bridger, hoping to salvage some semblance of my marriage. "Can't you see how unfair this is? You need to take responsibility for your family," I insisted. But he remained adamant. "No, you're the breadwinner. It's your job to care for everyone." At that point, I realized there was no turning back. I called my parents and asked, "Can I come back home?" They were aware of my troubles and immediately agreed. Following that, I requested a transfer at work, knowing there was an opening in my hometown. It provided the incentive I needed, and slowly, I planned the move. Since only my name was on the lease, ending the agreement was smooth. The landlord cooperated, agreeing not to inform Bridger. As the month neared its end, I booked a ticket back home without informing anyone. After reaching my parents' house, Bridger bombarded me with calls, accusing me of selfishness. "Where the hell are you? Your things are gone and the landlord is telling me to empty the house." "What is going on?" he exclaimed. "I'm back in my home country, Bridger, away from you for good," I replied. "You and your family can look for a new house on your own. I won't be paying for it anymore. It's time for you to go to work. I'll return only for the divorce. Don't expect to get a cent from me." "You can't do that. You can't make us homeless. Come back and make this right. I demand you return." "There's no way I'll sign the divorce papers," Bridger protested. "We'll see about that," I replied before hanging up. Despite blocking calls and texts, Bridger, his mother, and siblings continued pestering me. A week later, Jenny reached out from an unknown number, her voice desperate. "Please help us. We've become homeless. We thought you'd take care of the lease. We're living out of our cars with no money." Despite their pleas, I stood firm. Bridger tried unsuccessfully to find a job. Even voicemails and messages attempting to win me back were blocked. In my old home, near my retired parents who never liked Bridger, life improved significantly. My father even promised, "We'll get you a good lawyer to finalize the divorce." While I plan to return eventually, for now I'm taking things slow. Calls and texts from Bridger and his family eventually stopped, possibly due to financial constraints. Regardless, I felt liberated from my toxic husband and was enjoying a fresh start.